It was sleek, it was modern, and it was dangerous. The 1961 Lincoln Continental X100 wasn't just a luxury vehicle. It was a statement.
Now is still jolting, all polished and presentable without a hint of what happened 50 Novembers ago. Belatedly armored and topped and bulletproofed. The tragic Lincoln Limousine at the end of the road in the Henry Ford Museum here in Dearborn, Michigan.
At the time of its debut, it was among the most customized and technologically advanced limousines ever created for a U.S. president. It was long, low-slung, and perfectly tailored to John F. Kennedy's style. Elegant, understated, and built for visibility. But beneath the polish and presidential prestige was a harsh truth. The car wasn't safe. By late 1963, multiple security experts and even members of the Secret Service were growing concerned. The X100 had no permanent armor plating. Its windows were not bulletproof. The roof was a removable clear plastic bubble top that was rarely used and wasn't installed on the day Kennedy was assassinated. Most chilling of all, the vehicle didn't even have run-flat tires or any kind of escape modifications. It was a parade car in a time when political tensions and Cold War paranoia should have demanded something closer to a tank. And yet, it remained in use. Customized by Hess and Eisenhower at the request of the White House, the X100 was equipped with cutting-edge communication devices. 2 radio telephones, flashing red lights, flag mounts, footrests, and a special rear seat that could be raised by 10 inches to give the public a better view of the president. But none of these features addressed ballistic safety. There were no hidden armor panels, no bulletproof shielding, no security escape plans baked into the vehicle itself. And tragically, that oversight would become a central detail in the most devastating moment in modern American history. To understand why the X100 remained open and vulnerable, you have to understand the man inside it. President John F. Kennedy was a student of image. He understood the power of perception, of optics, of accessibility. And to him, riding in an open car wasn't just tradition. It was a statement of democracy. "Let them see me," he reportedly told his team when questioned about using a closed-top car. In his eyes, walls, whether glass or steel, were the tools of dictators, not democratically elected leaders. Kennedy was also deeply charismatic. He believed strongly in face-to-face connections with the American people. From campaign trails to presidential motorcades, he often rejected Secret Service suggestions to use enclosed vehicles. He didn't want to be seen through a window. He wanted eye contact, waves, the roar of a crowd. Visibility meant trust. It meant presence. And to a president who embodied the optimism of a new generation, it felt necessary. So when he visited cities like Chicago, Tampa, and ultimately Dallas, the orders were always the same: keep the top down. Even when rain was forecasted, JFK preferred to brave the elements than ride in the plastic bubble top. And that's exactly what happened in Dallas. Though the bubble top had been packed in case of bad weather, the skies cleared, and Kennedy insisted it be left off. That decision, made in the name of openness, created an opening of a different kind. One that an assassin would exploit with terrifying precision. By the fall of 1963, there was unease in the ranks. Not all of JFK's detail agreed with the president's views on security or his insistence on visibility. Secret Service agents, both active and retired, later revealed that concerns were raised multiple times about the X100's safety features or lack thereof. But pushing back on the president's wishes? That was tricky political ground. The Dallas motorcade posed particular challenges. The route through Dealey Plaza involved sharp turns, overpasses, multi-story buildings, and thin crowd barriers. Intelligence reports had flagged potential threats in Texas, yet the security plan remained unchanged. The top would stay off. The agents would stay at distance. Some members of Kennedy's team, especially his protective detail, wanted a tighter security formation. Some argued that agents should ride on the rear steps of the limousine. But, reportedly, those decisions were left to the president himself, and he declined. A former Secret Service agent later stated in interviews, "We had a bad feeling about Dallas. It wasn't just a city, it was the setup. But we couldn't override the president's comfort zone. That comfort zone created cracks in the protective wall. Cracks wide enough to let a sniper's bullet pass through." The Lincoln X100 was no ordinary car, but in the most critical way, it was far too ordinary. When it was first customized by Hess and Eisenhart in 1961, the car was state-of-the-art in terms of appearance and communications. But JFK's insistence on openness meant that major safety enhancements were either reduced, made removable, or never added at all. Unlike later presidential limos, the X100 had no built-in ballistic protection. Inside, the car featured lush blue leather, a phone system, hydraulic seat lifts, a rear step for Secret Service agents rarely used, and special siren systems. It was, in many ways, a show car, more concerned with optics than offense. What's worse, there were no emergency protocols built into the car. No ejectable seats, no armored belly plates, no smoke screens or security countermeasures. It was a rolling platform for the people to see their president. But as it turned out, it was also a perfect trap. November 22nd, 1963, a bright Texas morning. The rain had passed, the sun had broken through, and the bubble top stayed off. JFK's motorcade wound its way through Dallas, from Love Field to downtown. Crowds gathered 10 deep along the sidewalks, cheering, waving. Secret Service agents scanned every window, every rooftop. The presidential limousine, SS-100X, rolled slowly, barely over 10 miles per hour through Dealey Plaza. JFK sat on the right rear seat, Jackie beside him. Texas Governor John Connally and his wife Nellie rode just ahead in the jump seats. There was no roof, no one riding the rear bumper. The Secret Service detail was pulled back in chase vehicles. All of this was by design. JFK didn't want to look like a man afraid of his own people. As the motorcade turned onto Elm Street from Houston, it slowed further. The infamous Texas School Book Depository loomed above. In that moment, mere seconds, everything changed. The first shot cracked. Confusion swept the crowd. Some thought it was firecrackers. Then a second shot, and a third. Governor Connally was hit. President Kennedy slumped forward. Chaos erupted. The open-top design, the lack of armor, the absence of rear guards, all converged in the most devastating way. If even one layer of defense had existed, just a canopy, a faster pace, tighter formation, the course of history might have shifted. But that day, the car did exactly what it was designed to do: expose its passengers to the public. Only this time, the public included a man with a rifle. Part 6. The Assassination, 10 to 12. Zapruder's 8mm camera would capture the most analyzed 26 seconds of film in American history. In it, you see not just a tragedy, but the fatal flaw of the X-100 in motion. As JFK waves to the crowd, the first shot strikes. Connally winces. The car keeps moving. Then comes the third shot, the fatal one. It hits Kennedy in the head. Jackie instinctively climbs onto the trunk, a haunting image seared into the memory of a nation. The X-100 offered no protection. It had no armor, no evasive capability, no bulletproof shielding to stop what was coming. In the aftermath, the limousine, now blood-stained and in shockingly raw condition, sped to Parkland Hospital with the president's dying body. There, inside the trauma bay, doctors fought a losing battle. Kennedy was pronounced dead at 1 p.m. The car he rode in became a forensic crime scene and a piece of national trauma on wheels. And yet, the car itself didn't die that day. Instead, it was cleaned, repainted, rebuilt, and used again. But for those who witnessed its role on that day, the X-100 would always be something else: a mobile casket, a rolling mistake. In the hours after JFK's assassination, the X-100 sat in a Dallas garage, its interior soaked in history's most haunting bloodstain. The Secret Service, in an effort to avoid further scandal, quickly moved the car, first to Washington, then to Ford Motor Company for a controversial transformation. Instead of retiring the vehicle, the federal government made a shocking decision: reuse it. The X-100 was completely overhauled. Reinforced armor plating was added, bulletproof glass, a permanent, non-removable roof, a life support grade air filtration system. It was retrofitted into what it should have been all along: a rolling fortress. And then, perhaps most disturbingly, it returned to service. Lyndon B. Johnson, JFK's successor, would use the very same limousine for years afterward, for parades, for ceremonies, for his own protection. Many viewed this as practical. Others saw it as grotesque. The ghost of November 22nd clung to the car. Even with new paint, a rebuilt chassis, and polished chrome, the blood had soaked into the steel. Presidents would ride in it for over a decade, until it was finally retired in 1977 and sent to the Henry Ford Museum. There it sits today, silent, still, encased in glass. But for those who know the story, it still screams. Even before the echoes of gunfire faded in Dealey Plaza, theories began to swirl. Who pulled the trigger? How many shooters were there? But beneath all of it, one nagging question refused to fade. Why was JFK still riding in that car? To conspiracy theorists, the 1961 Lincoln Continental SS-100X became more than just a prop in a presidential tragedy. It became evidence. Some claim the car was left deliberately vulnerable, that certain individuals in the chain of command ignored security protocols on purpose. Others point to how fast the Secret Service moved to clean and alter the vehicle, effectively destroying a crucial crime scene before any thorough forensic investigation. Then there's the inside job theory, that someone knew the car's vulnerabilities would lead to disaster, and let it happen. A few theorists cite the soft-top design as a deliberate oversight, the last-minute decision to remove agents from the bumper rails as a suspicious maneuver, the decision not to take a safer route, all stacking up as calculated, not coincidental. Of course, no theory has ever been proven. Official investigations have repeatedly stated that poor planning and outdated equipment, not conspiracy, were to blame. But to this day, some believe the limo itself wasn't just the setting for a national tragedy, but the tool that enabled it. Today, the SS-100X rests under careful lighting at the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, Michigan. It's surrounded by velvet ropes, silent visitors, and a cloud of unspoken emotion. On the surface, it looks pristine, restored to presidential elegance. The paint is deep navy. The chrome glistens. But for those who know, it's more than a showpiece. It's a crime scene. Curators say the car is one of the most requested and most avoided displays in the museum. People come to pay respects. Others can't bear to look at it. The original seats were replaced, the interior reupholstered. but parts of the frame remain unchanged. Pieces of the original windshield, the door handles, still there. Physical remnants of a moment that changed America forever. Some critics say the car shouldn't be on display at all, that it's too grisly, that it turns tragedy into a roadside attraction. But others argue the opposite, that it's a vital artifact, a reminder of what can go wrong when politics, power, and protocol collide with hubris and visibility. In the end, the story of JFK's assassination isn't just about politics or conspiracy. It's about the consequences of choice. John F. Kennedy chose to ride in that car because he believed in connecting with the people, in visibility, in optimism over armor. But that choice cost him everything. The SS-100X wasn't just a vehicle. It became a symbol of American vulnerability, of institutional failure, and of a world that lost its innocence in broad daylight. Every scratch on its chrome, every bolt, every seam carries a weight history can't erase. For some, it's a relic of the past. For others, it's a warning from the future. And for the nation, it will always be one thing: the car that carried a dream and drove straight into a nightmare.